Hello Timekeeper, may the peace be with us. Welcome to the first video that should be this channel's main content, in A Nightmare at Green Lake TLDR. I will summarize the story without excluding too much vital information to make it easier to follow but still informative. I will divide this TLDR into 3 parts. The first one will be the background, the context of how it begins, and the connection to the storyline. The second part will be storytelling, the LDR version of the story from stage 1 to 18, followed by the aftermath of the conflict. So don't be shy and comment below if you have a view different from mine. Alright, relax yourself with a cup of tea in hand and enjoy the story. What will you do when you realize that you are actually a puppet? A puppet of a horror story that is being ridden by a psycho, an eccentric mastermind who loves to drive her actress into despair and frustration. Will you accept the challenge and be the lone survivor? Or will you accept the dream and be someone puppet for the rest of your life? A Nightmare at the Green Lake. The story of a young college student, Jennifer, usually called Blonney, accepting herself and becoming the survivor instead a dumb blondie, a sacrificial lamb of every horror story, and the story of a lonely mastermind controlled by her own story. The story takes place at the Green Lake campsite, a fictional place inspired by old horror movie tropes. We can see that in the main trailer of this event. The villain that chased them through the cabin looks like Jason the Killer from Friday the 13th. Although Jason came in 1980s, according to Wikipedia, the story goes like the horror story of that era. With 5 primary casts: the Fool, the Schooler, the Athlete, the Virgin Mary, and the Blondie. If you have seen Horrorpedia's dialogue, he dictated the typical flow of that era's horror movies. As stated in Sonetto's and Horrorpedia's dialogue, the campsite used to be the one of the training base of Xeno Youth Force in early 60s and was abandoned in early 70s. There is a myth that said Xeno Youth Force was missing in 1971 without a trace on a rainy night, making the campsite deserted and haunted. It has yet to be confirmed in an event story. Still, Xeno Armaments Engineering and Technology Academy is probably some research and academic organization that deals with topics like critters and arcanum power or technologies, just like the St. Pavlov Foundation. Officially, there were no missing youth force, as stated by Madam Z at stage 18. She said that whatever happened in the woods was because of Xeno's negligence. The woods itself were a Xeno research site that was distinguished as a campsite because at the end of the 50s, they found a bunch of critters with unique appearance in the woods near Green Lake campsite. Because of several attacks on local residents by flat critter subjects that mutated and evolved quickly, Xeno was forced to move to protect the forest perimeter, leaving the woods without any surveillance. This move became a problem at the later date because Xeno unexpectedly conducted military training to their first batch of critters. At that time, Xeno's representative contacted Madam Z and asked for help from the St. Pavlov Foundation to cover up and deal with their mistakes. Well, that's all I can tell from her conversation. However, after that explanation from Madam Z, Miss Tooth Fairy said,
Kids were ignorance for lack of knowledge, yet adults were ignorance for their cognitive inertia. In a story where truth and falsity are mingled together, it is hard to tell which is which.
Which can be translated as, yes, Vertin and her friends, the kids, probably have wrong view of what happened in the woods of Green Lake campsite because they are ignorant of the truth. But you, Madam Z, also don't know the whole truth, because an adult likes to filter out some obvious facts that don't align with their belief. Interesting, isn't it? Back to the story. Horopedia asked Vertin and Sonetto to join his journey to the legendary Green Lake campsite. Because of Vertin's interest and because of Miss Tooth Fairy also want to join, they oblige the invitation and go on their merry way to the woods. When driving to their destination, an old man abruptly jumped in front of their car and shouted, "Go away! Leave here!" That made the car have to make a hard left to avoid him and hit the trees. A typical opening of horror movies. Not long after the crash, a prominent and robust creature tried to attack them, but they managed to fend it off and fled into the woods.
Damn it, it's catching up.
After running for quite some time, they found themselves in front of a masked man
What is
with a
happening here?
knife who wanted to attack a girl in distress. When they knocked out the attacker, they discovered it was just a bunch of college students from the Faculty of Filmmaking, Fiennes State College. In these scenes, we meet our main protagonist, Blonney, the dumb sacrificial lamb, Michael the Fool, Freddy the athlete, Jason the schooler, and lastly, Anne the Virgin Mary. The five came here to finish Blonney's college assignment to make a short movie. As they kept bickering, the creature chasing Vertin's squad came out from the bushes and attacked them. They managed to fend it off with the sacrifice of Blonney's invaluable camera, making her more angry. The creature managed to escape, taking Miss Tooth Fairy precious teeth collection. Miss Tooth Fairy reminded Blonney to leave the woods because it was dangerous, but Blonney declined it, and as they always said,
It's our rights to stay here. You can't just expel us.
as the rain comes down, they decided to go to the cabin inside the forest, the same cabin that Xeno Youth Force used to stay in when they went missing on rainy nights. If you are attentive enough, you probably realize, hey, if the five of them play as the victims, who play as the butcher? As they settle in, Blonney realized they are missing someone to play as the butcher. Initially, Blonney invited 7 of her friends to help with her assignment, but at the promised time, Rod and Anna, who will play the butcher and the Virgin Mary, were absent because of stomach flu. Because of that, Blonney invites Anne when she meets her on the way into the woods as Anna's substitute, but never asks anyone else as Rod's substitute. The light suddenly flickers off, and everyone starts to panic as they realize the danger of their situation. Jason got angry at the sign of his friend being paranoid and assured them
I will go check the electrical panel and fix it. It will bring back the light and restore your sanity.
then he ran outside to fix it, but never returned. One down, the one who remains alone never ends up safe and sound. Next, it will be the people who failed to escape. Michael finally snaps and threatens Vertin with a gun so he can escape with the car they used to come here. He finally managed to escape Vertin's clutch and drove into the woods, leaving Blonney alone because of his resentment against Arcanis. Vertin and Horopedia chase them while Sonetto and Miss Tooth Fairy remains to defend the house and set up some traps. Horopedia tells Vertin that they must bring Anne back because she is the last girl, the pure and innocent girl who usually become the lone survivor of a horror movie. They have to bring her back to increase their survivability rate. Vertin finally found Anne hidden inside a pit covered in dirt and mosses. The butcher suddenly appeared and attacked them. Vertin and Horopedia managed to fend it off and disarm its weapon. With sudden burst of courage, Anne grabbed the knife and stabbed the butcher, finishing it off. The stabbed butcher collapsed unmovingly and disappeared into the earth. At the cabin, Sonetto and Blonney are occupied with placing traps, boarding the cabin to increase its defense against the enemies. Miss Tooth Fairy, on the other hand, scoured the cabin looking for clues and found many exciting items in the attic: puppets, a Luigi board, audio tapes, a ring box, and a diary. She found items that indicated the previous person that lived here liked horror stuff, which deviated from the myths that Xeno Youth Force lives in this cabin, because they would not collect those items. Vertin, Horopedia, and Anne escaped the woods and arrived at the cabin, but the critters didn't stop chasing them. Thankfully, Sonetto finished placing the traps around the house, and in the end, they managed to destroy all the critters attacking them. Inside the cabin, Vertin discussed her findings: a piece of moss that smelled like every item they had found after coming into Green Lake campsite. Miss Tooth Fairy deducted that it was some kind of potion that paralyzed the central nervous system of humans and makes them impulsive, confused, and mad. Simply a hallucinogenic substance. The hallucinogenic substance permeated into the whole campsite through the rain and took away the sanity of anyone living in it. Because it affected the Arcanists more slowly, the Xeno Youth Force realized it too late and then went missing. As the others discuss what to do next, Blonney tells Anne about herself, about her anxiety being born as an Arcanist, and having to suppress her identity because her parents' success in business moved them into a high-profile community where only humans were allowed. She still loved horror movies, and maybe because of that, she entered the filmmaking faculty of Fine State College. Miss Tooth Fairy gives Blonney the diary she found in the attic, and Blonney confirmed that it is her diary from when she was still a child. Weird. We found out later, when they fought against Ghost Bride, Blonney could give life to her drawing and summon a monster truck. After the fight, Horopedia realized that for every creature they defeat, they get a clue that brings them closer to the truth.
Touching the forbidden and the misfortune will befall you.
Horopedia realized that every item they found in the attic connected to the appearance of specific creatures, like the ring that brought them the putrefied Ghost Bride. After they managed to defeat every enemy and collect all the clues, Anne asked Vertin if she wished for anything, even the most trivial things. Vertin said, "Nothing, my life is good enough." Anne is quite shocked by Vertin's answer. Everyone should have a wish they want to be granted. She told Vertin everyone's wish. Jennifer wants a soft bed and a hot tub. Horopedia wants a cup of coffee or a gum. Miss Tooth Fairy wants a collection of critter teeth. And Sonetto wants a toffee because she never tasted it properly. Vertin then asked her back,
How about you, Anne? What do you wish to get?
and shyly said, "I can't tell you right now." How mysterious. We will know her wish at the end of the story, so keep listening. Vertin and Horopedia organized all the clues they found and deduct that every creature they found has one in common: water. Each of their stories always relates to a body of water. It pointed into the only body of water in the campsite, the Green Lake. They arrived at the Green Lake, and lo and behold, it was shrouded by an eerie mist that indicated their deductions were correct. They were surprised by the appearance of a lighthouse in the middle of the lake, a lighthouse that Blonney, who played a lot in this area when she was a child, has never seen before. It seems to scream out, "Come here, you can find the truth here." They obliged the call and arrived to find a worn suitcase with writing in blood that read, "Look inside." Inside, they found a journal that tells us about the story of a young blonde girl, Jennifer, and her dear friend. Jennifer liked to write her own horror story and reads it out loud near the lake, her favorite place. Every time she recited her story, a deer accompanied her and listened to her story. The first story she ever made is called The Frightening Hunter. It is a story about a strong, muscly hunter who slaughtered a group of college students that came into his forest. He killed the strongest one first, then the blonde haired girl, and after that, the clumsy short guy, followed by a nerdy tall guy. And at the end, he came to the protagonist, the kind and naive girl. Jennifer frequently went to the lakeside to read her story, one after another, until one day she had to say goodbye to her dear friend and recite the last story she ever wrote, the story of Jessica. The story of a kind, introverted, and virtuous girl who went to a beautiful campsite next to a lovely lake full of monsters. Before she can finish telling her story, her mom calls. Out of frustration and sadness, she threw her diary full of memories and her story script into the lake, then said goodbye to her dear friend, Jessica. For days, months, and then turning into years, Jessica never saw Jennifer again. Filled with emptiness, she went to every corner of the campsite, collected every item she could find, and made a story out of them, one after another. Day after day, she told her story to her furry friends and taught them how to act and behave like monsters in the stories. Together, they acted and played the stories one after another. But she felt more empty each day and began to lose hope. Then Jennifer is back. Jennifer returns with many unknown people to make a movie, a word Jessica used to hear often from her. They were short of one actress, and a brilliant idea came to Jessica's mind. I would join them, just like the monster in the story that hid in the group. Then, a misfortune happened. A strange group walked in and spoiled the plan. But Jessica never gave up. She called upon the rain and brought this strange group into her story too. Times went by and Jessica became fond of them. The man who knows a lot of horror movies. The woman who is always calm. The woman who seems strange. And a woman who smells like a puppy. She wants to be their friends and tell the truth. The truth that
My real name was never Anne. It's Jessica. This is the last surprise I prepared for you. Now, enjoy!
after the mastermind shows herself, the lighthouse crumbles into the ground, forcing Vertin and her friends to escape. Fortunately, Blonney can use her arcanist power to make a speedboat to drive them ashore. At the lakeside, they have their final boss battle with Jessica. Jessica has unique power as changeling to shapeshift herself into any form she likes, in this case, the shape of monsters from Jennifer's diary. She could also summon and command every forest creature to help her, In the end, she gets bested by Vertin. After the battle,
Please don't go.
we know that Jessica is just a lonely child who wants a friend to accompany her in the woods. She felt really sad when Blonney left her for ages and didn't want to feel that again. That's why she asked what everyone wishes, and she will try her best to grant them to make them comfortable living with her. You can also hear it in her ultimate voice line.
Oh, don't worry. I have prepared it all. I have prepared it all.
Jessica doesn't want to leave the woods because the woods are the source of her power. If she leaves, she can't maintain the shape of a human girl. But Vertin gave her the second best option, to go to the St. Pavlov Foundation, where her true form will not be a problem, and when she finishes her education, she can meet and play with everyone again. Vertin wished to be Jessica's friend, and Jessica granted it. She gave her a remote control that could make everything go normal. They finally go out of the illusion and meet Madame Z to go back home. Okay, Timekeeper, that's all I can tell you about the story of Blonney, the aspiring horror writer, and Jessica, the changeling. I hope this video will help you guys to know more about Reverse 99 story and enjoy them like I do making it. See you guys in the following story. Bye bye. Hey, Terry here. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe to get more videos like this. You can also click the video that YouTube recommends on the left side of the screen. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next story. Bye bye.